Hello, podcast listeners. This is a disclaimer because I'm going to talk about accidentally flashing someone in this. Plus, we're going to talk about a mom hotline. We're also going to discuss why a dad hotline is great. We cover a lot of ground today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode, probably with earbuds in. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Tucker, you and I just spent a whole afternoon together.
Yeah, this
right?
was fun. Our normal, the thing which our friendship revolves right now around is mostly the podcast.
Right.
Which I love about it. And
Good.
that was fun to spend more of an afternoon working on the podcast together.
So specifically, I want to talk about time at the beginning of this episode, okay? So I've
As
arrived
a construct.
Yes, right. Like, it's not linear if you think about it. Time that you spend with another person. So now that I've been married, going on 5 years. Oh my God, it'll be 5 years.
Have you been married for 5 years?
Yeah, we got married in 2018.
And how long were you a couple for?
Oh,
before that?
we dated for 12 years. We started dating in 2006.
So I mean, you're almost up on your 20th anniversary as a couple.
Oh my gosh,
getting
we
close.
almost are, yeah.
Getting close to it. Yeah.
There's a lot of time, but I've noticed that like Jill and I don't spend time like fun time together. Most of the time that we have is to make sure that we don't unalive ourselves by going to things like the grocery store or, doing some yard work and things like that. And recently she and I went on a trip together and we were able to spend that fun time where, we didn't have to be anywhere at any particular time. We just kind of got to spend it. And you and I see each other on a weekly basis, but we don't really hang out. In fact, I think the last time that you and I went to see a movie together was the second Sonic. We saw the second Sonic together,
Sonic.
right?
We saw both Sonics together. No, and that's actually much more about how my lifestyle works than yours, because you have routine hangouts with people. Go see this movie, go this thing or that. But yeah, I mean, in general, I'm not really, and that's not necessarily by design. I'm not trying to not hang out with people. But yeah, I see you every week. I see Mike Rezel every week. I see my coworkers every week, and then I'll see Theater B people weekly, depending on what's going on there that I'm involved in. But beyond that, that's kind of my social life. That's basically where it's at right now. So I think it's a commentary on where I'm at versus where we're at.
But I mean, I have the similar things with people, right? So
Sure.
I spend more time with my work wife, Amy, than I do with my actual wife, right? And here's one of the things that I think about. We spend all that time together, but I don't know what she likes to do socially. It's in a weird way. I couldn't tell you what her favorite place to go have dinner would be, or if she was going to pick between the ballet, a pontoon ride, or a baseball game, which one of those things that she would pick. But I could tell you that if she's going to order a salad, there better be no raw onions on it.
Sure.
Girl ain't going to have it. And I've really started to take, but that's the thing is when I consider the people who know me the best, they're people who I don't necessarily hang out the way I used to, right? And do things like that. And it's changed my perception of what that relationship actually is. And so at no point would I ever say we're not friends, we're podcast partners.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But I mean, you have to admit, the most time we've spent together outside of podcasting are the 2 days that we, put the insulation up in your breezeway. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
For
and
sure.
so and that was fun. It was fun to hang out with you and to just chit chat. And
some
stuff
friendships
like
are built in a way where there's no necessary component of we're not keeping enough of a hangout schedule to maintain this, right? So I think one of the hallmarks of our relationship is it's a very low maintenance one for both of us, ultimately,
is.
you know? And you know what? Shit, maybe the podcast has something to do with that, right? Because it's like the structured way for us to have some FaceTime without having to feel like, shit, I haven't talked to that guy in a while. I really should reach out, you know, that kind of a thing. I mean, I've got really close friends, some of my best friends who I only talk to outside of sharing memes with each other maybe once a month, you know, maybe. And that's not that we don't care about each other. It's that our lives are in these different places right now. I talk to my parents each individually probably once a month, my sister about the same. And I love them more than life, right? So I think if anything, it's like it's just more like what kind of a friendship, what kind of maintenance does the friendship need? And those lasting friendships are the ones where, for whatever reason, there's just not a ton of maintenance necessary versus a friend who maybe has some toxic traits that you're always trying to bail them out of shit and stuff or whatever. There's definitely maintenance that has to go along with that kind of a thing. There's a trade-off when you have to do that.
When you mentioned memes, I laughed the hardest I've laughed at a meme in a very long time last week. You know the image where it's a black guy and he's
From
kind of
behind the tree,
and he's wearing like a yellow suit,
Yeah.
and he's kind of looking at it. It was after Bed Bath and Beyond announced that they had filed for bankruptcy and they were closing all of the locations. And so it was like all the Spirit Halloweens eyeing up the Bed Bath and Beyond locations. And I was like, oh, that is so good.
That is good.
Okay.
That is good.
Do you remember this? So where the Bed Bath and Beyond is in Fargo, it's at the end of a strip mall.
Mm-hmm.
And before it was Bed Bath and Beyond, it was something else. But even before that, like when we were little kids, there's a place I think called like Children's Palace.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Kids Kingdom.
Kids Kingdom.
Yep.
Not to be confused with the daycare, also under the name of Kids Kingdom.
It is a different one.
I don't know. That's why I can't remember if it was themed as a castle. And I know there was a Kids Kingdom daycare.
You know,
was there also a Kids Kingdom store, or was it Children's Palace was the store?
So where Kids Kingdom is right now, I don't think that's where it was when I went to Kids Kingdom the one time as a kid.
The daycare?
I think it's not at the same location, but I don't remember. It was so long ago. I only went to Kids Kingdom once, but it had a profound effect on me. I was like, this is the best place on planet Earth.
Yeah, it had a free Ms. Pac-Man machine,
and
tabletop
it
one.
had a movie room,
Yeah,
where there was just playing movies on loop all day. And it was nice and dark in there, and I just remember thinking, I want to be here forever. And then I only got to be there for a little bit of the afternoon.
It was genius because it was a drop-in daycare that was across the street from the mall. So
Yep.
like I remember my mom dropping my sister and I off so she could go Christmas shopping.
Mm-hmm.
I probably went there like 5 or 6 times. And one of my favorite have you ever heard a lot of modern moms will tell you, Dad's not babysitting tonight. Dad is a parent and parents don't babysit.
Uh-huh.
Dad is the one who's just in charge of dinner tonight.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that kind of like where it's
Sure.
the idea that like, well, mom is the parent and dad, you know, is
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And so the one time my dad had to pick me up from Kids Kingdom, they said, all right, and which jacket is JJ's? And he pointed at a jacket, and it was it looked like a World War II bomber jacket, brown, like faux leather, and it had like, kind of like fur around it, and like it zipped up and it had little patches with planes on it. That is the best friggin' jacket you've ever seen in your life. I love that jacket. And so my dad gets me in, and like, it is small on me, like barely zip up.
This is actually your jacket.
This is actually my jacket.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's barely zipping up. My dad's like, you gotta get a new coat. This coat's way too small for you. So gets me in the car, and I'm still probably in a car seat at the time. Like
Okay.
I'm a whippersnapper.
Yeah,
Knee
baby.
high to a grasshopper.
Is your sister around
She's
at all?
not.
Not in the picture.
And so
yet.
my mom must have had my sister somewhere.
So you're probably 3?
No, maybe like 4 or 5. Like
Chrissy class of 04?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about,
Well, then she was around if you were 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, I meant around like she wasn't at Kids Kingdom. I was there alone.
God, I mean, in the picture of life.
Was my sister alive?
Yes.
Yes, she was alive at the time.
Had she emerged from your mother yet?
I assume that my sister was with my mother.
Okay.
I don't know, mani pedis, signing up for credit cards, whatever girls and their mother did at that time of the 80s. So
mani pedis.
So we get home and my mom instantly goes, "That's not his jacket. JD, that is not his jacket."
Oh, I was right. That wasn't your jacket.
And so he's like, "What? This is his jacket." She goes, "That might be the same style of jacket he wears, but that is not his jacket." And so my dad has to put me in the car and drive back, and I'm still wearing this too small for me jacket. And I remember this vividly, walking in there, and there's another dad with a kid who's smaller than I am going like, "You don't understand. This is the wrong jacket." And so my dad was like, "I think my son got you." And we both had the exact same jacket, but they were
Just
drastically different sizes. And a mom would have noticed right away. The dads did not.
The second one did.
No, he had left and come home when the wife was like, that's not Greg's jacket.
God. See,
that jacket is way too big for our child."
These were the men who were raised by the World War II generation,
Bingo.
right? And
Yep.
so dad donates the sperm, dad brings in the money. That's what and then whatever he does on his own time is his, right? Quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from that. My dad did not follow that at all, thankfully. His dad did, as far as the very defined roles, but it's way different now.
Oh, so different.
Way different now.
And they've started making media to be different too.
I wouldn't want to be that dad. I'm not interested in being. I want to be a dad. I don't want to be that dad. I fucking watched a video that murdered me. I don't know what it's from though, and it was like a 1-800 number to talk to a dad. And it's like any kind of dad you want to talk to. We got black dads and white dads and tan dads and foreign dads. And it just starts listing them off. Got 2 dads, got accepting dads, athletic dads, absent dads. And it's like a 1-800 number you can call. And then it ends.
And it's supposed to be a parody of like the
sex
sexy,
lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it ends with, we got stepdads. And it's this scene where it's this white dude in like a flannel. And he's standing on the staircase and he's been crying. And he goes, "I just love you so much, Bruce."
I think dad-related humor is underrated.
Now
and I don't
think about your dad.
What's
your dad like?
I want to meet that dad. That's exactly what I was going to talk about. That is exactly what I was going to talk about. I had an idea in the early 2000s that if I had gotten on the bandwagon right away, I wouldn't be here with you. I'd be on my private island somewhere.
Sure.
And it was going to be a 1-800-MOM number.
Okay.
And so it's stolen from the Butterball turkey number, right? So Butterball employs a bunch of ladies who can talk you through cooking your turkey the week of Thanksgiving, right? How long do you have to let it rest? How long, should it be in the oven? Is it ready yet? I don't know.
And they're
Or should it be
continuing
made
that
precise?
tradition today?
They still do that. Yeah. The Butterball hotline, you can still call, but now it's mainly like a web service, right? So they've got an app. So Jenny O has a thing like, is the temperature of your oven this? Put this on and it'll alert you when your turkey's done, blah, 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 blah. So my idea was a mom hotline, and the mom hotline would service this. "Oh my God, I got a grass stain on my pants. I don't know how to get this out." You can call the mom hotline and they'll be like, "All right, so what kind of pants? They're jeans? Okay, don't worry about it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go get a bar of soap. We're going to do this." Be like, "Good work, Daniel. Like, would you call back and let me know? I'm mom 1257. I'm Diane." But it went to all sorts of things like, "I'm going on a first date with this girl and I don't want to embarrass myself. What kind of flowers should I get her?" Sure. And they're all the things that you might ask a mom. And so it's the mom hotline, and it can do everything from cooking to cleaning to advice on relationships to how to be like firm. Like for example, like if you're a young lady and you're having troubles at work and you think that it might be because of like sexism, talk to that mom who's like, "Listen, you deserve just as much as any other man does." And like, you get that pep talk from them, and you can call and be like, I need a snack. What should I have for a snack?" And they're like, "Oh, have you thought about making ants on a log? All you need is some celery, a peanut butter, and some raisins." And so the thing is like, we've got moms standing by 24/7.
Yeah, but you know what though? Those poor moms are going to be dealing with so much bullshit.
But here's the thing.
Okay, we got to hang up on that guy and not block that number.
Yeah, you're going to get some perverts.
Right,
but you know what?
Also, no, you can't come do laundry over here.
The Jenny O turkey people probably also have to do it too, being like, Sir, you gotta stop making passionate love to that turkey.
I'm
Just stop.
stuck. I'm stuck.
Be like, I've ruined Thanksgiving for my whole family. Yeah, you did, Dwayne. You really did. But I think like more often, and that's the thing too, right? If it's like I can't do this. Can I just come to your house? And that's where they're like, follow the script, Ethel.
Yeah.
And the script is like, you can't come over to my house right now, but would you like me to look in the yellow pages of Detroit and find out where the nearest laundromat is?
See, here's
to
the
you?
thing is for that to really work is they then just have to have your information so they can just call you up at any time. Hey, by the way, I submitted your name. I saw a job proposal for a social media manager over at this. And I thought that would, I just think that because you use computers and stuff, that would be what
You are going to be the vice president of 1-800-MOM. That is a genius idea.
Yeah.
We start keeping folios on every person.
Yeah, they start doing clip outs of like their accomplishments in the news.
And be like, I see that your best friend got married. I'll read you the wedding announcement. I think that there would have been something there. I also thought of an idea at one point to have a GPS tracker that they put into snowplows, and it would alert you when the snowplow's gone past your driveway. So you GPS locate your driveway, and then there's a GPS tracker on all the city
Wouldn't you
snowplows.
just look out your window though?
But this thing is like, you don't necessarily know, right?
Well, you're snowed in, right?
No,
At
but
first.
like, let's say I left for work, and 2 minutes later I find out that the snowplow went and did just happened to go down my street.
Mm-hmm.
I would double back and take care of that, because now I know it's going to sit there for 10 hours and become an ice chunk rather than freshly plowed snow.
You're talking the ridge leading into your driveway.
Yep.
Got it.
Because
yeah.
we do not have the snow gates that
No.
they can put down like they do in Bismarck, which is awesome. Now, if you talk to city employees, they're like, snow gates, horrible idea. It's going to slow everything down. Everyone's going to be so mad. But I would rather pay an extra $10 a month to get snow gates.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that as a resident of Fargo. Just throwing that one out there, city.
I got to get my garage cleaned out so I can actually park my car in it again. It's just filled with junk right now that I was planning on getting to. And now that it's nice outside, I've been looking forward to having like a weekend where I can just spend outside in the garage, cleaning stuff up and getting some space made. Would be really, really nice.
Yeah, we did a clean out of our shed recently, and I thought, I should put a nice chair out here.
You should update our audience about what's going on with
Oh my
Casa de
God.
Gordon, because you've talked previously about ice dams on this program, and it's taken a turn.
It really has. So our water restoration specialists, the people who can tell us, they've got fancy equipment that they, it's a pinprick into the wall, and they're like, oh, yep, there's a 75% saturation right here. They took down a third of the ceiling in our living room, which was drywall over plaster. They didn't realize that there's plaster above it. So that adds a whole other ball of wax to this thing. And then 2 walls. And it was still wet behind there. So here's the thing. How long has the snow been gone now? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, something like that.
3 weeks for sure.
For the
My
most
ice,
part, yeah.
For sure, my ice dams have been gone for that long, so there should be no new moisture getting into my attic.
Right.
And yet, it is still like, that's how little air gets in there. Is that once the moisture gets in there, it just kind of it's a humidity thing, and then once it started getting warm, it encouraged mold growth, and so
Right.
they pulled everything down. They found a lot of mold. There's talk of hazmat suits.
Ugh.
And they've used this like high density kind of like poly to kind of bubble off our living room. So if you were to walk into my house,
It's like E.T. was in there.
that's exactly what I use that metaphor, not illusion.
Example.
There you go. That's the word. I used that example for someone recently, and they said, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, the big plastic tubes from E.T.
Yeah.
They said, I don't remember that part. And I said, that's the whole third act.
That's where your anxiety really revs up.
Bingo.
Because holy shit, what's going on here?
Is the thing that makes me fear the government.
Yeah.
Because they mobilized so fast.
So quickly in that Steven Spielberg movie.
Have I ever told you my theory about aliens and Godzilla and the army?
I don't think I've ever heard. Oh no, yeah, because of having a plan just in case that
Just
were
in
to
case,
happen.
yeah.
You've
And
talked in terms of zombie invasions as well.
Bingo. That's, yeah. And so they go over that because they're like, I know this is ridiculous, but we don't want to get caught with our pants down. This is the chain of command. Now everyone can enjoy a sandwich.
I would want to have a contingency for if a modern day witch were to reanimate a bunch of suits of armor. and like Scottish bagpipers and stuff, and then attack us in the Highlands.
Well, it's clear all you have to do is just kill the witch.
That's true.
Or at least make her fall off
a broomstick because she has to control them all. Like the mothership in Avengers.
ID4. Oh.
Or really any movie with a mothership.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty much what they all do.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So
I don't know of one where it's like, oh, well, the mothership, we don't really need that. We just have one.
We're all independent satellites. Or Star Trek 3, Into the Darkness. They do the same thing. And they disrupt it with Beastie Boys. So in the movie Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which Tucker was alluding to,
Referencing.
right?
Yeah, both are correct.
Exampling. And
okay. Sure. I'm not an English teacher, but maybe.
I'm an English comparer. So I'm good at all the words that compare things to one to the other.
And I'm an English speaker, and I don't even know what to say about it.
No, you're not. You're a human being. You're not a metal and plastic box that amplifies sound. I know English. Thank you very much. English. Oh, I got to tell you a real story that happened this week in my life. Okay. I had a coworker who had a 70th birthday. And so we had a surprise birthday party that was going to be inside of this massive giveaway we were doing on Thursday night. So we're like 2 birds, 1 stone. Everyone's going to be there for this giveaway, and we will wish Don a happy 70th. So they're like, JJ, you get the cake. And I said, no problem. And I said, where'd you get the cake from? I said, Hornbacher's. Great cake, reasonable prices. And someone was like, Hornbacher's, they did us dirty on this. They're bad. Don't get it from Hornbacher's. And I said, hey, shut your mouth.
Wow.
This grocery store is great, and I'll prove it to you when I pick up this cake. And then, damn it, they completely screwed me because I went and I picked up the cake, and this is what I asked them to write on it. Happy 70th Dawn. 70th Dawn. Mm-hmm. I picked it up, and it said, Happy 70th Birthday Dawn, but it didn't say birthday. It said Brithday. Britthday. And it's fine if you don't look at it too, like if you just glance at it. But here's the thing else. So it had green accent frosting on it. And then they chose the brightest yellow, the orange, the orange that like a hunter would wear to write on it. These aren't complementary colors.
No.
Why not choose green? Like if you already had a green thing going, go with more green.
It was just dealer's choice for them?
Yeah. Okay. I guess I needed to be more specific about like, hey, don't put a completely clashing color on top of this. But the genius who spelled Brithday probably was like not thinking about it. And then they put so much edible glitter on the top of this thing.
Oh no.
And I hate glitter.
Yeah.
I really hate it.
Yeah, it's like Anakin and sand.
To segue back, so my entire living room is out of commission. Mm-hmm. They found more water. And the upside of this though is I can actually do a little bit of some remodeling in there. Sure. So for example, we have a phone jack in there. I do not need a phone jack in my living room anymore, right?
Right.
So we'll get rid of the phone jack. It doesn't have to be in the wall. I'm going to add an extra outlet in there that I've been dying to have for a while because in one area I have my home theater system set up. Mm-hmm. And when the last time this living room was remodeled, you had a TV, maybe a DVD player. And that was your entire home theater system, right? Like TV's got the speaker built into it. You don't need anything else. This is all that you need.
Yeah.
And now when I look at it, I'm like, okay, I've got my television, I've got my modem, I've got my PS5, mm-hmm. I've got my router, I've got a little tiny miniature fireplace that's on a Wi-Fi plug. And there's just like so many things. It would be nice to have 2 separate outlets that I can plug in separately on it, right?
Yep, makes sense.
And so I'm looking forward to that. So as shitty as it is to have all of this going on, it's an excuse for me to be able to do some other stuff along with it.
Yeah.
It has caused a lot of strife though in that house. So Jill's not someone who takes that in. When I was in 4th grade, we remodeled the entire main floor of my house, the house I'm in right now. Mm-hmm. And my teacher sent a note home like on the 3rd week of the construction. And she goes, there's something very wrong with JJ. He usually is very happy and he asks questions and he loves to draw. And that's a lie. She definitely didn't say draw. Probably read. He loves to read and all this. And he is like, she goes, for lack of a better word, he seems very depressed. And so my parents wrote a note back saying, Dear Mrs. Suby, because Sally Suby was my 4th grade teacher. And it was, here's a bunch of Polaroids of what's going on in our house. The whole house is plasticed up. There's no area that I could normally hang out. We had a hot plate in the basement, and we all had to share that space. And it was just the pits, right? It was awful.
Yeah.
And so it explained that because my world was thrown so completely, into the eye of a hurricane, I clearly, as a little kid, was feeling depressed. And I don't think we realize that is that there are people that when their world is disturbed in some way, shape, or form, and that's definitely what my wife is like.
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
she called me today and she goes, I think I'm going to go up to Hillsborough. I'm going to go to my parents' house for the weekend. I said, that's a great idea.
It's affecting your ability to decompress, which is like that thing you need your home to do. But when you go home and you can't decompress, it's just not comfortable, especially when there's this big project going on that's going to be going on for a while. So you can kind of see like it's going to be a while until normalcy is returned again. That's kind of tough to grapple with at first.
She also keeps telling me, she's like, God, it'll be like Christmas by the time we get this up. I said, no, we'll get it done. And she goes, JJ, you never finish projects. And I'm like, you know what? You're not wrong.
But this is a bit more extreme, right?
Right. Like insurance, like we'll hire a construction company to come in and do this. So
fuck yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. But I can understand how stressful it is to her.
Does she start projects?
No.
Exactly. Right. So I get it. You don't finish them. She never starts them.
She doesn't do any projects. In fact, this week I got so frustrated because she has taken me to the mat several times on when you built the master bathroom, you didn't consult me about this tile. You just chose it and you put it down. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that you want to be a part of the process because you definitely aren't part of the work. And like, the story of the Little Red Hen? You familiar with that story?
Yeah, I think so.
Little Red Hen. It's an old Russian folk tale. Little Red Hen's out there. And it's, hold on. I'm going to find something specific I'm going to play here because this has affected me my entire life. And I know that you can find a clip of this on the YouTubes. And it's a little golden book, like animated. So it's the story of the Little Red Hen and her little tiny chicks, and they are going to make bread, but it's all the stuff that has to go into getting it ready. So for example, to get ready, you've got to go out and you've got to cut the wheat, and then you got to mill it, and then you got to turn around and do all these little things. And so hold on. Hold on. Do I have it here? It's good. Trust me, this will be where then.
When you were telling your flooring story, it just made me think of when I lived at Trollwood for like 4 days as a kid.
What?
Didn't I ever tell you that story?
No.
1990, I forget what year it was. Our 1141, our house at 1141 house we moved into, we moved to Fargo. It used to be carpeted, and then they were going to change the floors over to be hardwood, right? So it was a whole rip out and then installation hardwood and all this stuff. And so, and that was for the whole house. And so we couldn't be there. And so Dad was working at Trollwood that summer. And so my dad and I and Brianna and my mom, we lived for like, I want to say 3, if not 4 days at the in the teacher's lounge at Trollwood Park. So like we lived at a park for 4 days.
Sounds amazing.
It was the coolest fucking thing.
Okay. I listened to your whole story, but I also found this. Okay.
The Little Red Hen. But hush, I must be quiet.
I'm an old red hen, and I'll tell you where I've been. I've been out for a stroll in the morning. I have worked today, so I don't have time to play or to rest underneath a hedge of snoring.
And then she goes and she asks the lazy old dog, and he's like, oh, my back hurts, so I can't help you mill it. So they mill the wheat into flour. They bake the flour, and then all the lazy cat, the lazy dog, all these lazy animals come on over, and they're all like, oh, that bread smells delicious. I think I'd like a piece. And she goes, oh, you'd all like bread. Too fucking bad. And then she pretty much rips it away from them. They're be like, you did not help me mill the flour, and you did not help me bake the flour, and you did not. And it's like, so no, you won't enjoy any bread, but my chicks and I will enjoy it because we did all the work today. Because she's a little red hen, and she'll tell you where she's been.
So you're the little red hen.
I am always.
You're the little red hen in this scenario. And Jill is which farm animal?
An amalgam of all of them. But she's not the scarecrow who he's the narrator of the story.
He's the chorus.
Right. And it's not that Jill's lazy, but she's like, this is not something I know how to do.
Right. She's not
And-
passionate about throwing her energies into any project outside of getting home and watching some Netflixes, which is perfectly normal.
And TikTok, a lot of TikTok. But like, here's the thing. So Eric Hatch, who's been on this podcast, will tell you he doesn't know which end of the hammer is the business end, but he does know that the best tool in his toolbox is his checkbook.
Okay.
Right. So hire someone who knows how to do it. Jill doesn't know the first thing about insulating, rewiring, hanging drywall, and that's absolutely fine.
I know nothing about that.
And I pretend to know a lot about it. And so part of my pride gets wrapped up in this, and that makes things even worse, Tucker. It's just the pits.
Yep, that makes a ton of sense.
I guess it drives me crazy. That's what it does. So I end up in a situation where I end up being the little red hen, and I'm like, you do not get to pick the tile because you did not go to Lowe's and you did not deal with the in-store rebate.
Do you think if you said, hey, I would love for you to have a part in this, would you be willing to then put in some work? What would she say?
So we tried that once, and we almost got divorced.
Got it. So I think that's what you say is, go, listen, honey, I would love to, but unfortunately, you're too volatile. And I want our marriage to work.
Listen, I don't ever think she's ever listened to an episode of JJ Meets World. Someone is going to play this one for her for sure.
I'm not married to her, and I'm the one that said it. So
That's
it's
true.
totally
That's
okay.
Twice in 2 days, I've been on the phone with my wife and someone has yelled. You're one of them. So like when I was on my phone with her and you pounded on the window, and then last night a coworker did it, and I think she's sick and tired of being the person who's on the other end of the phone, right? Like
of all the adventure going on your end of the phone.
And I told her, I'm like, Jill, I'm just so popular, and people want to be around me, and they think it's a lot of fun.
JJ's tethered to adventure. Like, you just kind of cosmically are. If JJ's going to go do a thing, it's like, okay, it's not going to be a normal one. Something else is going to happen.
Have you watched Jury Duty yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Maybe you did talk about it.
I know a lot. Yeah. One of my favorite, I've rewatched a bunch of it again. And one question that they ask the jury when they're all together is, what would you say is one word to describe how you feel about being on this jury? And someone goes, serious. Someone else said important. And then this gentleman goes, adventure. And I thought to myself, there are everyday things that just represent adventure to a lot of people, right? I would think of jury duty, adventure.
I kind of want to do jury duty at some point. It's like a bucket list thing for me. I want to see what that process is like.
Okay.
So can you help me out?
Here's the problem with jury duty is this. We are in a instant judgment society right now where people form a judgment based off of somebody the moment they see it. That's why they say first impressions are the most important. And things like social media, Instagram, that has fueled the fire. They have thrown not just gasoline, but like an atomic weapon into the bonfire on that one, right? And I think it's very difficult to get an impartial jury when the situation, like if someone walks in, if the defendant is wearing, let's say they're wearing a sweatshirt, like a hooded sweatshirt, and somebody on the jury is like, why isn't that person wearing a suit and tie?
Right.
I mean, I told you a story today about two gentlemen who are going to work at my job, and they had drastically different requirements when it came to getting dressed that day for an interview.
I do love inappropriate, aggressive, immature T-shirts.
You need to watch Jury Duty. Okay. That's the point of the trial. You need to watch Jury Duty. I'm telling you right now. I think that it's amazing how many T-shirts get printed that have stuff that is wildly inappropriate. I was recently at a park where two people were wearing shirts with the F word on it, and they had kids with them.
Yep.
And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I mean, to each their own, but like at one point, and like one of them had like Kermit the Frog flipping the bird. I was like, first of all, that is not licensed Muppet wear.
I do love that person woke up, looked in their closet and said, you know what, I'm going to go with this one today.
Do you know that there's probably someone within a stone's throw of where we are in downtown Fargo right now who in the last 20 years has had 3 different vehicles. And the constant between the 3 different vehicles is not brand, is not style of vehicle. It's that every time they bought a picture of Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes taking a piss on something
Right.
that they thought is less than.
Yeah. The fact that someone's like, I need this on my car. This is amazing. You know, I just crossed a new threshold of adulthood when it comes to clothing the other day.
Yeah?
I dropped off some pants to get altered.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But apparently I'm not getting them until the 19th.
What are you altering on your pants?
The length of the legs.
Oh, yeah?
I'm of the shortness of height where in town they do not sell pants my height. They just don't.
Yeah.
You can't find them. And so either you have to special order them online for a lot of fucking money, or you just need to buy the closest you can and then get them hemmed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never gone through that process before. I mean, I have, like growing up I did, and doing theater obviously and all that kind of stuff. And I've looked into how difficult is it to hem your own pants, but it requires like, I gotta get a sewing machine and all this shit. And so I really wanted to find that quick turnaround solution that, oh, hey, if I just buy pants, can I drop them off here and get them hemmed for, $20? But she's backed up until the 19th. So I'm waiting on these pants, and then I'll have two.
You're going to love it.
I think I'm going to love these pairs of pants.
My brother-in-law is between a 32, 34 on pant length. And so if he goes with the 32, when he, sits down, it crawls too high up
Right.
and is showing off his ankles.
Yep.
So how dare he?
Yeah.
And then if he gets the 34, it's getting caught underneath the heel of his shoe, and
Yep.
so it ruins it anyway. So
That's what I'm dealing with all the time.
Yeah.
Is I'm under a 30, and 30 is the shortest length you're going to find. Anyway, sometimes you'll find a 29, but it is rare, and you have to dig for it. And I don't even think I'm technically a 29. I'm probably a 28. And even just going online, just finding it should be really easy to just go, make me pants at this size, please. Thank you. But even that, it's just not. I think part of it is men are so used to just being, yeah, I'm a dude, it's pants, whatever. But covering my legs, whatever, versus, engaging in some self-respect and some self-care, which I've never done when it comes to clothing. And so I just assume yep, my pants are all going to I'm going to be tripping on them all the time.
I'm going to be all baggy like Wimpy.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to have a little more pride in my appearance.
Let me tell you something that happened this weekend involving pants, swim pants specifically.
Swim shorts?
Yeah. I mean, they're still pants, but shorts are short. The term is short for short pants.
Right. I mean,
so they're still technically pants.
All shorts are pants, and all pants are shorts. I get
Right.
it. But swim pants.
Just like underpants.
But when you say pants,
Yeah.
someone is assuming long length.
I mean, I could technically say swimming costume, and I'd be correct.
I would love if there was swimming evening wear.
Oh, I bet you there is.
Let me rephrase that. I don't mean
A ball gown,
I'm
but
not-
for
yeah,
pools.
going to the ball. To speak high society swimwear.
Oh, you're not wearing your bow tie in the hot tub, you
Right.
charlatan.
Right, where you're doing cannonballs next to people eating horse dovers.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
I like that. Probably some escargots.
I always think of the whatever all right, it's not horse dovers. How do you actually pronounce it?
Hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres? I thought it was a different thing.
No, hors d'oeuvres.
Oh, it is just hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah.
How the hors d'oeuvres look in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective at that big fancy when he's shoving it all in his
Yep.
mouth before he gets attacked by the shark.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought those hors d'oeuvres looked really delicious.
They did.
Yeah.
And they probably were just garbage too. There's no way they're letting Jim Carrey have a bunch of real expensive stuff. It's this weekend. I'm in the Twin Cities. And I'm staying at the Embassy Suites. No big deal. 2 rooms, right? A living area and then a bedroom area.
Mm-hmm.
And our friend Rachel, who's been on this podcast before, comes over because we are going to leave from the hotel to go to a fancy event. And we were getting ready. We were hot tubbing before this, and we didn't end up making it down to the hot tub.
Okay.
Right? So Jill and I put on our swimsuits, and then Rachel's like, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes. We're like, well, darn it. So she gets there, and I decide I'm not going to change into my evening wear right now. I'm going to just chill in my swim pants and my shirt for a moment. Now, 10 minutes before this, Jill was telling me, you need to get new swim pants. These swim pants that you're wearing are old swim pants. You probably had these for 20 years? I said, yeah. And they're awesome. They've got guys on surfboards and waves. So clearly I'm not going to mistake them for another pant, right? I'm not going to accidentally put these on, grab them from the closet and mistake them for another.
So you bought this when you were 19?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was I right now am slimming down to high school weight.
Good for you.
Right. Which is awesome.
Yeah.
But at that time when I was in high school, I was always wearing a shirt. Right.
Oh,
so I
sure.
tucked my shirt into my swim pants, and Now they're loose. Like they not only do they have 20 years of age on them, but they're big for me. So I hit the drawstring and I tie it as tight as I can. But at one point, while I was shelling peanuts and eating garlic olives, talking to Rachel, having a little like snackadoo in our suite, I stand up and the swim trunks straight up fall down.
Oh no.
And Rachel goes, "Ah!" and screams. There's a giant picture window leading out from our room into the courtyard.
Are you facing her or away from
Facing her.
Oh shoot.
Facing her. And I'm also facing the window. And so she screams and there's people walking by and her scream attracts their attention. And I'm pulling up my swim pants. And it became a whole thing. And for a while, Rachel's like, you guys are going to get kicked out. You're going to get kicked out for this, for exposing yourself. And you're trying to make it look like an accident. And I was like, it was an accident. I promise you. If I was going to expose myself, it would not be to you in front of garlic olives. Like, it certainly would not. And then I had another coworker who I went to a Minnesota Twins game. And when I go to a baseball game, guess the food that I think is the most important when I go to a baseball game?
Peanuts.
Yes. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So I'm eating some dry roasted peanuts, shelling them, popping them in the cup that my Bloody Mary was in.
Oh, good.
And it's kind of windy, and I'm sitting next to Abby, and she's on my left, and Jill's on my right. And every time I open peanuts, the peanut sweepings from inside are getting up in the air and getting all up in Abby's face. And she goes, every time you open a peanut in your hand, it, like the skin of the peanut and like all the salt dust in there is blowing off the peanut before I get it to my mouth and getting all up in her face.
Are you kidding me?
No. Like have you ever been like by a bonfire where like all the cracklings always go to one person for whatever reason and they're like, I'm sick of this.
Yes,
and they move, and then wherever they move to, the wind brings the cracklings over there.
Yes, but I've eaten so many peanuts in the shell and have never once ever had to deal with the peanut cloud. I've never even heard of that.
It's not even a cloud. It's at best
particles.
it's debris.
But I'm eating that paper too.
Yeah. That's around the peanut.
Yeah.
These
Salty.
are so dry roasted that when you crack open the peanut in your hand, the wind just takes it. Just takes it right out of it because I've shelled half the peanut.
She's getting peanuts to the face.
So I was like, would you like some peanuts? Like as my peace offering? Like this is my olive branch. It's my peanut branch. And she goes, no. And I said, are you sure? Come, I have some. No. And so then I eat like a couple more and I'm like, these peanuts are real salty and good. She goes, okay, give me one. And so she takes a peanut and I watch her look at it and she's kind of like testing it and she's squeezing it a little bit. And I'm like, what's going on? And so she watches me as I crack open a peanut again. And I watch her and she kind of does the same thing. And it dawns on me, she's never opened a peanut before.
Oh.
And so I asked her, I was like, have you never had peanuts? She goes, I've never had to shell a peanut to eat it. And I said, wow, your privilege is really showing right now. It'd be like, I've always enjoyed
People did it for me.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the shelled peanuts of a variety.
That was Winston's job.
And I thought, wow, you just can't take for granted sometimes like that everyone's had the same experience as everyone else. And in all honesty, there was a time in my life where so I have in my life tried puffing a cigarette once and it was to impress a girl. And I said, okay, so, and I'm holding it and I'm like, oh, this is gross and disgusting. I'm like, how do I do this? And she's like, we just inhale. And I said, when people say inhale, I don't know what that means. Like I just go and I suck it in. And she's like, no, you've got to like bring it into your lungs. And I said, I don't know what that means. I have never done anything like this before. I've never even the one time I went under for surgery was like an injection into an IV. So it wasn't even like a mask, like breathe deeply. It was just burnt and I was gone. And so I was like, okay, here we go. And so I took a drag off of it because that's what they say with cigarettes, I think. And I instantly I must have gotten it just in my throat. And so it burned my throat immediately. And I go, and then I threw up a ton of asparagus, like so much that they didn't let me back in the bar. And they're like, no way. I just watched you puke in the street. And I was like, I got all of it out. It's because I tried to smoke a cigarette. And he goes, okay. And so then she had to go in and she had to find all my friends and be like, your friend.
I was like, was she impressed?
No.
Did she just offer you a drag on hers?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? And so you were standing there And she was standing there.
And I was trying to flirt.
Got it. Okay. And she's like, you have any something to say that? And you're like, yeah, I bet, because you'll probably want to do it with me.
I was like, I'll show you how masculine I am by taking a drag off this grit.
By the way, I watched a scene today from the new Beavis and Butthead series.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. It was
Mike Judge has not skipped a beat.
It was Beavis. It was a whole sequence of just Beavis and Fire, the character of Fire.
Yeah.
Because there was a dumpster fire in the alleyway that Beavis comes upon. And he's like, whoa, Fire. And then Fire begins to speak to him. And he's like, remember how I've nurtured you ever since you were born? Remember that you're at Butthead's 3rd birthday party, right? And the candle on top and stuff. So then he's like, I want you to do something for me. And Beavis is like, yes, anything I'll do for you. I want you to go over to your school and I want you to run around the track 4 times. That will equal a mile. And Beavis is like, okay. So he goes and he does it because Fire commanded him to do it. And he's like, this sucks, right? Doesn't feel good. So he comes back and goes, okay, I'm guessing that was just a warm up because, that's a weird thing for me to do. And so the Fire's like, yes, I was just warming you up because it's good for you. You needed some exercise. But now what I want you to do. And Beavis is like, yes, Fire, tell me, what is it I'm going to do? And he goes, I want you to pick up every plastic bottle and aluminum can in this alleyway and put it in the recycling bin. And then I want you to do that for the next 3 streets over. And Beavis is like, okay. So he starts picking up things and he's walking towards the garbage and Fire's like, no, the blue one, right? So he cleans up 4 alleyways of garbage, comes back to the burning dumpster fire who's still going. And the dumpster fire's like, yes, excellent. Now I want you to write a 5-page book report on Call of the Wild. And I want you to talk about XYZ. And so Beavis goes inside in the restaurant and he goes, do you know you have a dumpster fire going out back there right now? So the guy brings a fire extinguisher out with him and begins to extinguish the fire. And Beavis is looking away while the fire's pleading with him. Like, it doesn't even have to be 2 pages. It can be 1 page. Okay, a paragraph. Just give me a paragraph on how you think Call of the Wild is an excellent literary device. And I thought that's a fucking brilliant concept where, Beavis is always assumed to have some sort of psychotic affinity for fire. And when it's finally being rewarded, the fire only wants him to do things that are positive for himself. Mm-hmm. And he's commanding him to do good things.
In the new Beavis and Butthead movie that essentially launched the new series.
Still haven't seen that either.
There's an amazing scene because it's about Beavis and Butthead essentially falling through a time warp. And it's the Beavis and Butthead from 1995 arriving in 2022, right? And at one point they find themselves on a college campus and they walk into this feminist studies class. Yeah. And they're like, check out all the chicks. And they are talking about white privilege. And so they explain what white privilege is, the fact that when you're born a white person, by that nature alone, you have privilege over other races and you're given things easier and life is easier for you than it is to be another race. And the next moment they're walking out and they crash a car and the cops come out and they're like, hey, you're in trouble. And they're like, have you not heard of white privilege? And they take it in the absolute opposite. They're like, this is great. It's our get out of jail free card.
Do whatever we want.
And I'm like, what a brilliant commentary on what people think white privilege is.
Beavis and Butthead never fails to make me laugh. Even if they're just laughing. The episode with Butthead going on Prozac. Oh my God. Thank you for asking.
What's the name of the kid?
Oh, Stuart? No, is it? No,
Stuart. It's Stuart.
It is Stuart, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The kid who wants to be a part of their group.
Who is it that it's Winger. That's who's on his shirt. It's Winger. My favorite Beavis and Butthead character besides Beavis and Butthead is Todd.
Yeah.
Because whenever Todd shows up and they're like, whoa, it's Todd.
Todd's awesome.
He's the coolest guy ever. And he's such a jerk. And they just think we want to be like that guy. 100%. I love that. I need to watch that that series that's on the list of things I need to fully watch, like Jury Duty.
You know what's a real shame is like there's no way that people, in all honesty, can catch up nowadays.
Right.
There's so much good stuff that at one point you have to say like, I am actively not going to watch this because I want to watch this. And so many things have created comfort viewing in the last like 20 years that, I've seen this episode of The Office 30 times, but I'd like to see it 31 times.
But you know what? Just in general, I always feel like I'm catching up on everything these days. So even when it comes to entertainment, it's like, I got to catch up on entertainment. It kind of makes me just want to bypass it all entirely. Which there's really no way to. So I've been building this list of things I need to watch for years, and I'll never, ever cross them all off the list. I think it really comes up to, these are things I want to remember exist. So if I'm ever in the mood to watch them, I should watch them. But
I go to a lot of movies, but I don't go to nearly as many movies as I used to. Somebody the other day, by the way, made me think of you. They said, it's one of the best roles that nobody knows about. Steve Martin in Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Oh,
and I said, Tucker and I saw that on a Sunday night. And I feel like there's a 6-month span where you and I saw Looney Tunes Back in Action, Cheaper by the Dozen, and the Pink Panther.
So it was a whole Steve Martin.
It was like
marathon.
a Steve Martin, like 6 months there. And he plays the CEO of the Acme Corporation, and he plays it as this just bizarre, kind of smarmy yet totally nerdy, like, hello, Barry, shall we do some kissing? Character that's just absolutely out there. And
who would be the right person for a revival of the Pink Panther? Steve Martin was not it. And I mean, the thing is that you really have to go, okay, what it is who do you want to be your lead performer in an inept or a detective or whatever, right?
But
Police
not
officer.
Not playing it inept.
Like not playing Peter Sellers as well, right?
So like the whole point of the Inspector Clouseau character is that he sees himself as the world's greatest detective, and he's not doing these things because they're funny or he's a buffoon. He's doing them because in his mind, this is what the world's greatest detective would do.
Yeah.
When it comes to disguises.
I mean, Peter Sellers plays the character fairly straight.
Yeah.
I mean, even though there are amazing, hilarious moments and he's leaning into this insane accent, but he really does play things straight, which makes like that initial Globe gag just sing because you don't see it coming, right? You don't see it coming whatsoever. And when he does it and he recovers, he doesn't wink at the camera and there's no
one comments on it, right?
No.
Like no one goes like, are you all right?
Right.
You just move forward to it. I think that this is going to okay, so hear me out on this one. Hugh Laurie, I think, could maybe do that.
Sure.
So he's most famous for Dr. House, but he came from sketch comedy beginnings. And the thing is that he can play it completely deadpan and straight in the same way that like Kevin Kline does such a great job in A Fish Called Wanda with the character of this American, like way too big of an ego, way too much self-worth, crook when he's not very good at it at all.
Yeah, for sure. Someone who could definitely make a good swing at it, but I think would bring too much of their own nest to it would be Sacha Baron Cohen. Because he could certainly, obviously, he can play up into the accent. He has that kind of performative range, and he would be able to hone himself in, I think, to a certain style. But you
need a great director working with him.
Yeah, it would still be overpowered by the fact that it's Sacha Baron Cohen, I think. I think, if anything, it would be someone who would surprise us that you wouldn't think of. Lately, I've been obsessed with Tim Burton's first Batman movie because we've got The Flash coming out here pretty soon. And that's my favorite superhero movie of all time. And it's in my top 3 films of all time. And I was rewatching the scenes at the beginning of the movie where Michael Keaton is playing Bruce Wayne and how unbelievably brilliant he is in that movie, and about how everyone was so pissed off when they announced his casting as Batman until they saw the first promo of him and went, never mind, right? This guy is showing us something we've never seen before. We weren't expecting him to be here. So you wouldn't want a Will Ferrell in that position, right? Because you know exactly what you're going to get. But if you were to take like a serious actor, like a Josh Brolin or something, and then put them in that spot, I think that would be really, really interesting.
One thing that's interesting about Josh Brolin, just to be out there, Josh Brolin got the biggest get out of jail free card in Hollywood. Did you ever see Jonah Hex?
No.
So he's in a Marvel movie.
DC.
That's a DC? I thought, okay, so it's a DC character.
Yep.
That was so bad and so awful, but they're like, listen, not only can he play Thanos, but we're going to let him play Cable too.
Yeah.
We're going to give him both.
He's a talented fella.
He is a talented fella. I just saw him in something too, and I was thinking about, I was watching Summer Rental, which is a John Candy movie where he takes his family on vacation to Florida for like a month, and he ends up pissing off this rich guy who buys the house that they're renting and is going to kick him out. So luckily, John Candy's able to convince Rip Torn, who is a pirate who runs a restaurant that's on a boat, to let him sail the restaurant boat in a regatta for this. But one of his kids is the girl, Carrie, I can't remember her last name, but is the girl from Goonies that Josh Brolin is obsessed with, the one that he wants to like kiss.
Oh, okay.
But then she ends up kissing Sean Astin instead.
Yep.
And so I got down this rabbit hole. I'm like, whatever happened to some of these people who had great roles in a movie, but then you never saw them again? So her friend in that movie, Martha Plimpton, goes on to become a huge star on Broadway, does a lot of Broadway, and then has been in a lot of successful sitcoms since then. And so just, isn't it interesting every now and then, like, what happened to these people?
Isn't it? Yeah, I keep forgetting that Josh Brolin is in that movie.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that Sean Astin's in that movie. All the people who are in that movie.
And an Academy Award winner, Key, I can't think of his last name, from Everything Everywhere All at Once. No Time for Love.
Sure, yeah.
Short round from Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Ki Hui Kwan.
Yep, there you go.
There you go. So yeah, Oscar winners in that thing. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. So if there's a mom hotline, there should also be a stepmom hotline. And in that, she loves everything that you love, and you have to try hard not to fall in love with her because your dad already is married to her.